Morning all. We're up in the beautiful Sierras and we got Jeff and Robert with us today. Today we're claim jumping. Well, we're not really claim jumping. We got permission to be here. This video is going to be my process that I go through to decide whether or not I want to search for gold here. Now, it's obvious that this area was mined. You can tell by the ground, you know, it's been dug out. Quartz rocks here, nice river-worn quartz. We've got smaller gravel. We've got river-washed gravel. It's obvious that this was an old channel, a bench, something put here by the river. The question we need to answer is, what size is the gold? To find gold with a metal detector, it's got to be big enough for the detector to pick up. So that's the first thing we're going to go into, is trying to find an area I think has gold large enough for the detector to find. Now this first area I'm at, the reason I stopped here is we've got bedrock pretty much on the surface everywhere. It's been weathered pretty good. The problem I have though is I don't see any gravel that would carry larger gold. But this will give us an idea of what the bottom of the river looked like. Now we don't know if we're up on the banks of the old river or where we're at on the old river, but we can use this to check the ground, see if we got black sand, see if there's magnetic black sand, get an idea of just the lay of it, which way the bedrock is sloping, to try to, basically we want to work ourselves to the gut of the river. This right here, this is bedrock. It's a little darker, and then here we're traveling into a softer bedrock. In here, this whole area is softer. Then as you go across, you can see here, this is a different bedrock, and then we're back to the same bedrock over here. And then as you go down the hill, the same thing as the bedrock it changes and gets softer. This darker bedrock here seems to be our hardest bedrock. Okay, now looking at the bedrock, the fact that bedrock is so soft, it's not going to be a real big help here. If we had a good hard bedrock, it would help a lot more. Okay, well, I'm going to do some exploring. Let's see what we can find that will give us some hints. Okay, well, another clue, I haven't turned the detector on yet, but Jeff has dug up a couple of square nails, so we know that it's an older site. If you got the square nails, you know it's pretty much before the turn of the century. If the nails are round, then it's probably in the 30s when they were working it. Now it's really hard to show it on camera, but right here we have a hole. My foot out here to show you the size. Now this is a test hole. A test hole can be one of two things. Is what I'm thinking in this case is they had run out of the good gold and they were testing to try to get back on it. So they would dig holes down into the gravel, try to get down to the gut and sample the gravel, see if it's worth, you know, which way to go. So I'm guessing we're at the top of the dig where it was pretty much petering out. So I think we'll head down a little bit, see if we can find some better ground. I've been hiking back and forth, going from one end of where they were digging, where the workings quit, to the other side as I work my way down the hill. And the gullies, it looks like they worked the gullies pretty hard. I think I'm in the one edge of the pit right now, but there's something here I wanted to show you, and it's another indicator. Right here we have a dead tree that has fallen over. And I don't know how well it's showing it, but you can see the tree was growing right on top of the bedrock. It pulled a little bit of the bedrock, and the bedrock is like a slate. It's a real soft bedrock. Now, let's go find some rocks. We have gravel here and there. We got a rock right here. Good looking rock. Little bit on the heavy side, but not very big. There's another one there. There's a few down here. There's a larger one right there in the shade. But the majority of the gravel is gone, which tells me it was pretty light gravel, which also tells me it was probably pretty small gold. We need to find an area that has gravel left here, that there was too much larger gravel that they stacked rather than just washing it away. Because we're not going to find anything that the detector can pick up in this area because it's just too light. You can see behind me here, we have a nice big boulder. We have a big boulder here. We have a few rocks here, but the gravel, we're getting boulders now, but we still have no gravel, which means the majority of the material they could wash away. So we need to keep going, but we're going in the right direction. Well, we've made it into an area where we now have piles of gravel. Granted, the gravel's not real big, but it's heavy enough that they couldn't wash it away. But it's still too small for what we're looking for. So we need to find larger gravel. I can see a few larger pieces here and there, but still we need bigger piles, larger boulders before we'll even worry about getting the metal detector out. Okay, moving on. Okay, now this is going to be tough to show, but this gravel in here is changing color. It's starting to get stained. It means it's got more mineralization. Here's a good example right here. Right here's an example of what I'm talking about. Is we got a nice little quartz rock, but you can see the staining on the rock. And then another thing that's starting to interest me is I've noticed some of the quartz now is starting to be broken, which tells me they were looking at the quartz rocks to see if there was any gold in it, any specimens. So I think we're going in the right direction. Let's keep moving. Okay, now we're starting to get somewhere. You can see the piles are getting bigger, the rocks are getting bigger, and like right here, we got a nice sized boulder. A fair percentage of the quartz rocks are broke, which tells me they were looking into quartz, or there was quartz boulders too big to move and they broke them, get them out of the way. But either way, we're getting bigger gravel overall where they can't get rid of it. They got to start stacking it. So I think we're getting closer to the gut of the river. Okay, we kept moving in the direction we were going, and you'll notice we're back to, we got large rocks. We got a few here and there, but the gravel piles are a lot smaller, a lot further apart, which tells me we're getting out of the heavy flow because they're able to wash most everything away. So we need to go back to where the heavy stuff was and then start going in 90 degrees to the direction we've been going to see if we can get into even heavier gravel. After going around and around, up and down, I've come to the conclusion that this is where we're going to start detecting. The reason being is we still have a lot of gravel left. I mean, off over here, there's quite a bit of rocks piled up, but they're smaller than what we got here. But more importantly, over in that area where we have a lot of rocks are mostly quartz. And quartz is actually a pretty light rock. Over here we have the darker, heavier stones. And that's what we're looking for. And the one behind here, we're getting into gravel that's large enough that it can carry the flow that drops these boulders. Will also be where the larger pieces of gold are going to be falling out also. Where you get up in that lighter stuff, the big gold can't get there because there's not enough flow. So, and also in this area, I've picked up some conglomerate, which means it was a good pack on the bottom. The problem we got here is the bedrock. The camera is sitting on bedrock. It's that slate bedrock that's decomposing. It's a really soft bedrock, so we're not going to get any clues out of that. And I think that's what they were working with because I see no broken bedrock anywhere, which tells me that they were able to just wash the bedrock and the monitor would tear it up. They didn't need to blast it and chisel it and stuff. So I'm going to grab the detector. Let's look around. See if we can get a few more clues with the detector. Well, we got a first target there. Awfully loud. My money's on a nail. Old square nail. I've been detecting for quite a while, and I've found one more nail other than that first one, and that's been it. But I got a target right here. It's a light target, but it's the first decent sounding target. So I thought we'd dig it up together. Okay, let me let you hear what the target sounds like. As you can hear, it's a real light target, but that's what I would expect in this pit, because I think if we find any gold, it's going to be pretty small. Okay, let's dig this up, see if we can find it. Okay, now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take just the first like 1/4 inch off, because make sure it isn't sitting right on the surface. Okay, it's not very deep because it got louder, but it's still there. Okay, we got her now. Well, that's it. Let's see if it's iron. Yep, little tiny piece of iron. And it sounded so good. Okay, back to detecting. Well, targets here are few and far in between. I got one right here somewhere. It's another light target, but right over there is Jeff and Robert. I haven't seen them since we got out of the Jeep. And they both got quite a pocket of nails, but no gold.
We're looking for gold?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I thought we were looking for nails.
Okay, well, I'm gonna see if you can hear this target.
I don't hear it.
There it is. Pretty marginal. Okay, well, let's see if we can find it. We're getting closer. Oh, I got it. All right. What's our bets? Nail or birdshot?
I don't know, it sounds pretty good. It hasn't changed its tone. It's faint. Saying tiny piece of metal iron. I'm gonna say piece of gold.
I think I got a piece of gold. Yep, that piece of gold. What worries me is I think for here, this may be a nugget. Okay, well there it is. And it is tiny. But what worries me is that may be what we're gonna find here. Well, the problem we have here is basically we have to stay in the big boulders, but where the bedrock is just plain bedrock, I think that's been washed clean. What I've been doing is concentrating on where there is the gravel of all different sizes close to the bedrock. And that tells me that for some reason or other, they didn't wash this off, or they threw this here afterwards, because they didn't stack this here. So my theory is this is our best odds of finding a piece of gold, which we have found one now. Problem is, I think the gold's gonna be really, really small, so you gotta listen. Okay, well, we're gonna do a little more detecting, and if we don't come up with something, I'm gonna go eat, because I'm starving. It's way past lunchtime. Well, I've gone around everywhere that looked good to me, and I found one more nail, and that's it. So I decided, I went back to where I found that piece of gold. I dug up a bunch of the gravel. It was sitting right on the bedrock, right around where I found that piece. And down here a ways, there's some water, because snow's still melting. So I'm gonna take this down, pan it out, and just see if there's another piece of gold there, just a lot smaller. I'll be right back. I think we answered the age-old question, why only one? Well, the reason there's only one, you only find one piece of gold at a time with the detector, is because the second piece is way too small for the detector. We did pick up some gold here. I think I got 3 pieces here, but they're pretty small. Let me show you. Okay, hopefully you can see there's 2 pieces here. Pretty small, and then there's a third one down here. It's really small. Okay, well, we're pretty much all in agreement. We're hungry, we're hot, and we're heading back to the Jeep. Now, depending on what time it is when we get back there, we may head down to the creek and see if we can find a little bit of gold there. If not, I'll see you back at the house. Back at the house, and by the time we got up to the Jeep, it was getting pretty late. It was hot. We were tired, so we just called it a day and headed on down. Now, I do have that piece of gold sitting over on the scale, so what do you say we jump over there and see if it'll even make the scale move? And stuff I got panning, we're not even going to worry about that because it's so small, it's not going to make any difference. Okay, see how we did. Okay, let's see how we did. And that is 0.12 grams. I can't believe it moved. 1.12. You know, it's better than going home with nothing. Now the trip did do one thing. It just, I don't know, I'm hooked on the hydraulic pits right now. I think it's a combination of, I love that 4,000 and above, 5,000 foot elevation of the Sierras. I can just go up there and sit. Plus, I love the hydraulic pits. You never find any big gold in them, But you always find a little bit of gold, artifacts. They just fascinate me. Don't know why, but they do. So, gonna be heading back up there. But right now, that's pretty much all I got on this one. So, I'm out of here. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.